Have you ever stepped into your garden during December and thought the gardening season was completely over? The flower beds seem bare, the soil feels cold and lifeless, and everything around you suggests that growth won't begin again until spring arrives. Yet seasoned gardeners understand a fascinating truth. December is actually one of the most valuable planting months of the entire gardening calendar. While many people postpone planting until March or April, winter sowing gives certain plants an incredible head start. Cold temperatures naturally prepare seeds for germination. Winter moisture helps soften hard seed coats, and months of exposure to outdoor conditions create seedlings that are stronger, hardier, and far more resilient than many plants started indoors later in the season. Seeds planted in December often emerge earlier, bloom sooner, and develop sturdier growth than those started in spring. In many ways, nature takes over the entire process and does much of the work on your behalf. Today, we'll explore 9 remarkable seeds that actually benefit from being planted in December, plants that rely on winter conditions as an essential part of their life cycle. 1. Delphinium. Delphiniums are among the most spectacular and graceful perennial flowers available to gardeners. Their towering flower spikes can reach heights of 3 to 6 feet, creating dramatic vertical displays that immediately draw attention throughout the garden. The blossoms appear in stunning shades of blue, violet, pink, lavender, and brilliant white, producing colors so intense and vivid that they almost seem to glow when illuminated by sunlight. Beyond their beauty, delphiniums are exceptionally suited to winter sowing. Their seeds require a process known as cold stratification, a prolonged period of exposure to cold temperatures that signals the seed when it is safe to germinate. Without this chilling period, many delphinium seeds remain dormant or germinate inconsistently. Planting them in December recreates the exact environmental conditions these flowers evolved to depend upon: freezing nights, occasional thaws, cool moisture, and a lengthy winter dormancy period. Throughout winter, moisture gradually penetrates and softens the seed coat, while repeated freeze and thaw cycles trigger important biological changes within the embryo. Once spring arrives, germination occurs naturally and often far more uniformly than when seeds are artificially started indoors. The results can be truly impressive. Delphiniums that are winter sown often develop stronger root systems, thicker stems, and greater tolerance to heat and outdoor conditions than seedlings raised under artificial lights. Rather than becoming weak or stretched indoors, they mature gradually under natural weather conditions from the very beginning. These plants thrive in fertile, nutrient-rich, well-drained soil that contains plenty of organic matter. In cooler climates, they perform best in full sun, while gardeners in warmer regions often provide some afternoon shade to protect the flowers from intense summer heat. Unlike rugged wildflowers that tolerate neglect, delphiniums appreciate rich soil, compost, mulch, and consistent watering throughout the growing season. As spring progresses, lush green foliage quickly develops, followed by tall flowering spikes covered in densely packed blooms. Healthy plants can become so heavily loaded with flowers that staking is often necessary to prevent stems from bending or breaking after strong winds or heavy rainfall. Another tremendous advantage of delphiniums is their value to pollinators. Bumblebees, honeybees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds are irresistibly drawn to their nectar-rich flowers, bringing movement and life into the garden throughout the blooming season. One important thing for beginners to remember is that delphinium seedlings may appear slow-growing at first. However, once warmer temperatures arrive and roots become established, growth accelerates rapidly. Winter sowing eliminates much of the challenge associated with indoor seed starting because nature handles the stratification process automatically. Perhaps that is what makes December-sown delphiniums so rewarding. You place tiny seeds into the cold soil during the darkest part of winter, and months later, those same seeds rise into magnificent columns of color that completely transform the landscape. 2. Poppies. Flowers. Perfectly adapted to winter sowing. Poppies are admired not only for their delicate, paper-like blooms, but also for the unique conditions their seeds require in order to germinate successfully. Their tiny seeds are naturally designed to endure winter. In the wild, poppies release their seeds during autumn, where they remain on the soil surface throughout months of freezing temperatures, snow, rain, and repeated thawing cycles. Only after experiencing an extended winter period do they awaken and begin germinating when spring arrives. This explains why spring sowing often produces disappointing results. Without prolonged exposure to cold temperatures and winter moisture, many poppy seeds remain dormant. They rely on light, cold conditions, surface exposure, and freeze-thaw cycles to stimulate proper germination. December sowing perfectly imitates this natural process. When poppy seeds are lightly scattered across the soil during winter, snow and rain gradually settle them into small cracks and crevices. Frost helps soften the seed coat, while shifting soil naturally positions the seeds at an ideal depth for sprouting. Because poppy seeds require light for germination, keeping them close to the surface is especially important. By early spring, poppies are often among the first seedlings to emerge. Their bluish-green foliage tolerates frost remarkably well, while developing deep root systems long before summer heat arrives. Then the true spectacle begins. By late spring and early summer, the garden erupts with blooms in shades of scarlet red, orange, pink, white, lavender, and even dramatic varieties featuring dark centers. The flowers appear to float above the garden on slender stems, swaying gracefully in the breeze like pieces of delicate silk. Poppies planted in December typically bloom earlier, produce stronger stems, and create more abundant floral displays than those planted later. Many varieties also self-seed readily, allowing a successful planting to return year after year with very little intervention. Gardeners also appreciate poppies for their ability to attract pollinators. Bees in particular are highly attracted to the open blooms and can often be seen covering the flowers during peak flowering periods. Over time, winter-sown poppies often establish beautiful drifts throughout the garden, creating a natural and effortless appearance. A simple scattering of tiny seeds into cold winter soil can eventually become one of the most stunning displays in the entire landscape. That may be the true magic of poppies. Their seeds appear almost insignificant, resembling tiny grains of dust scattered across the earth. Yet after surviving winter, they emerge as some of the most unforgettable flowers a garden can produce. 3. Pansies and violas. Pansies and violas may look delicate and fragile, but they are actually among the most resilient cool season flowers available to gardeners. These cheerful bloomers are famous for flowering through cold weather, surviving frosts, and in some cases continuing to bloom beneath a light covering of snow. Their exceptional cold tolerance is precisely why December sowing is so effective. Their seeds germinate best in cool soil with consistent moisture and naturally fluctuating temperatures. Winter provides all of these conditions effortlessly. Freeze-thaw cycles, cold air, and winter moisture gradually prepare the seeds for strong and reliable spring germination. Many gardeners encounter difficulties when starting pansies indoors because warm temperatures and insufficient light often create weak, leggy seedlings. Winter sowing solves this problem naturally. Seeds remain dormant outdoors until conditions are exactly right, producing compact, sturdy, weather-hardened plants that are fully prepared for life outside. Once established, pansies and violas quickly create vibrant carpets of color. Pansies generally produce larger blooms marked with distinctive face-like patterns, while violas bear smaller flowers but often bloom in far greater numbers. Their color palette is extraordinarily diverse, including rich shades of purple, yellow, blue, white, burgundy, orange, lavender, and countless striking bicolor combinations that brighten gardens long before most summer flowers begin to bloom. Another reason gardeners treasure these plants is their extended flowering season. In many climates, pansies and violas bloom from late winter through spring and may continue into early summer or even autumn when temperatures remain moderate. Regular removal of spent flowers encourages continuous blooming and prolongs their display. These plants also provide valuable nectar for early-season pollinators. Bees, hoverflies, and other beneficial insects frequently rely on pansies and violas during periods when few other flowers are available. Their versatility is equally impressive. Pansies and violas thrive in containers, window boxes, raised beds, borders, hanging baskets, rock gardens, and vertical planters. Their compact growth habit makes them ideal for filling empty spaces with color throughout winter and spring. One of the most surprising qualities of these flowers is their toughness. A hard frost may flatten the blooms overnight, yet once temperatures rise and sunlight returns, the flowers often stand upright again as if nothing had happened. Perhaps that resilience explains why gardeners continue planting pansies and violas year after year. During the cold, gray months when much of the garden still lies dormant, these flowers restore color, vitality, and hope to the landscape long before spring has fully arrived. 4. Milkweed, a winter-sown lifeline for monarch butterflies. Milkweed ranks among the most valuable plants you can sow in December, not only because it enhances your garden, but because it plays a critical role in the survival of monarch butterflies. In nature, milkweed releases its seeds during autumn, allowing them to spend the entire winter exposed to snow, freezing temperatures, rain, and constant shifts between cold and mild weather. This prolonged exposure to winter conditions is exactly what prepares the seeds for successful germination. Without experiencing this natural chilling period, milkweed seeds often struggle to sprout. Gardeners who attempt to start them indoors are frequently disappointed by low germination rates because the seeds never receive the cold treatment they naturally require. Sowing milkweed outdoors in December solves this challenge effortlessly. Winter itself provides the cold stratification that gradually awakens the seeds and prepares them for vigorous growth once spring arrives. However, milkweed offers far more than attractive flowers. It serves as the primary host plant for monarch butterflies. Monarchs lay their eggs exclusively on milkweed plants, and once the caterpillars emerge, milkweed leaves become their sole source of food. Without milkweed, monarch larvae simply cannot survive. As natural milkweed populations continue to decline across many regions, home gardens have become increasingly important safe havens for monarchs. By planting milkweed in December, gardeners help ensure that healthy, established plants are ready and waiting when monarchs return during their spring migration. The benefits extend well beyond monarch butterflies. Milkweed flowers attract an incredible variety of pollinators and beneficial insects. Honeybees, native bees, hoverflies, lacewings, ladybugs, and parasitic wasps all visit the blooms, helping to create a balanced and thriving garden ecosystem. During summer, a mature patch of milkweed often becomes one of the busiest and most active areas in the landscape. Milkweed that is winter-sown frequently develops stronger stems and deeper root systems than plants started later in the year. Because these roots establish naturally outdoors from the beginning, the plants become exceptionally tolerant of drought, heat, wind, and challenging summer conditions. As the plants mature, they become surprisingly ornamental. Large clusters of star-shaped flowers emerge in shades of pink, orange, purple, or white, depending on the species. Their fragrant blooms attract a constant stream of pollinators before eventually producing seed pods that split open in autumn, releasing silky fibers that drift gracefully through the air. Another fascinating characteristic of milkweed is its milky sap, which serves as a natural defense against many herbivores. Monarch caterpillars absorb compounds from this sap while feeding, making both the caterpillars and the adult butterflies less attractive to predators. For gardeners interested in supporting wildlife, few plants are as meaningful as milkweed. It transforms a garden into something greater than a decorative space. It becomes a refuge that supports one of the world's most remarkable migratory insects. Perhaps that is what makes December-sown milkweed so special. You are not simply planting flowers, you are helping provide food, shelter, and survival for butterflies, capable of traveling thousands of miles across entire continents. 5. Yarrow, the dependable perennial that flourishes almost anywhere. Yarrow is one of the oldest medicinal herbs and pollinator-friendly perennials still widely grown today. With its feathery foliage and broad clusters of tiny flowers, it combines beauty, durability, and usefulness in a single plant. Its seeds are particularly well suited to December sowing because they germinate best when exposed to cool temperatures, light, and gentle winter moisture. These conditions can be difficult to replicate indoors, but nature supplies them perfectly throughout the winter months. When yarrow seeds are lightly scattered across the soil surface in December, the cold weather keeps them dormant, while winter moisture gradually prepares them for future growth. As temperatures slowly rise and daylight hours increase, the seeds naturally germinate at precisely the right time. Plants established through winter sowing often become far tougher than seedlings planted later. Their root systems penetrate deeply into the soil early on, helping them withstand heat and drought during summer. Once established, yarrow demonstrates remarkable adaptability, thriving in sandy soil, rocky locations, heavy clay, poor ground, and dry areas where many other flowers struggle. One of yarrow's greatest advantages is how little maintenance it requires. After becoming established, it often flourishes with minimal watering and very little attention from the gardener. Yet its value extends far beyond durability. For centuries, yarrow has been used in traditional herbal remedies, teas, tinctures, and salves due to its long-standing reputation for supporting wound care and soothing inflammation. Today, many gardeners continue growing it for both ornamental beauty and herbal use. The flowers appear in broad, flat-topped clusters that function almost like landing platforms for pollinators. Bees, butterflies, hoverflies, lacewings, and ladybugs are all frequent visitors, making yarrow one of the most beneficial plants for supporting a healthy garden environment. Beneficial insects are especially drawn to the flowers because their open structure provides easy access to nectar. Hoverflies often lay eggs nearby, lacewings patrol surrounding plants for pests, and pollinators continue visiting throughout the flowering season. Yarrow also boasts an impressively long bloom period. Once flowering begins, the colorful clusters often remain attractive for weeks or even months. The blooms dry exceptionally well too, making them excellent additions to dried floral arrangements and decorative displays. Visually, yarrow contributes delicate texture through its fern-like foliage, while creating bold, horizontal flower clusters above the leaves. It fits beautifully into cottage gardens, pollinator habitats, meadow plantings, and low-maintenance landscapes. It is easy to understand why yarrow has remained a garden favorite for generations. It tolerates difficult conditions, supports beneficial insects, offers traditional herbal value, and returns reliably year after year with very little effort. Few perennials are as versatile and dependable. 6. Lupine, a flower that relies on winter to thrive. Lupines are among the most striking flowers gardeners can cultivate, admired for their tall spikes of vibrant blooms and distinctive hand-shaped foliage. What many people do not realize, however, is that lupine seeds are naturally adapted to benefit from winter conditions before germination. The seeds are protected by extremely tough outer coatings that prevent premature sprouting. Unless this hard shell is weakened, water cannot penetrate effectively, and germination may be delayed or fail entirely. Some gardeners manually scarify the seeds by soaking, scratching, or nicking them before planting. However, winter sowing often proves even more effective because nature performs the process automatically. Repeated freezing and thawing gradually weaken the seed coat, creating tiny openings that allow moisture to enter naturally. By spring, the seeds are fully prepared to sprout. Lupines planted in December typically develop stronger root systems than seedlings started indoors. This is especially valuable because lupines produce deep taproots that dislike being disturbed or transplanted. Winter sowing allows those roots to establish naturally in their permanent location from the very beginning. The results can be spectacular. As the plants mature, they produce towering flower spikes, densely packed with pea-like blossoms. Colors range from deep indigo and rich violet to bright yellow, pink, red, white, and stunning multicolored combinations. These dramatic flowers quickly attract pollinators. Hummingbirds hover among the blooms, bees move from flower to flower, and butterflies gather throughout the blooming period. A mature stand of lupines can completely transform the appearance of a garden during early summer. Lupines also offer an important environmental benefit. They improve soil fertility. As members of the legume family, they form partnerships with beneficial bacteria that capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and release it into the soil. This process enriches the surrounding ground and supports neighboring plants. Winter-sown lupines frequently bloom earlier and produce stronger, thicker flower spikes than plants started later in the season. Because they establish gradually under natural outdoor conditions, they often show better resistance to drought, heat, and unpredictable weather. Even before flowering begins, the foliage provides ornamental appeal. The palmate leaves spread outward like green stars beneath the towering bloom spikes, adding visual interest throughout the growing season. Many gardeners consider lupines one of the signature flowers of early summer because of the extraordinary drama they bring to the landscape. Large, swaying clusters filled with pollinators can make a garden feel vibrant, natural, and full of life. Perhaps that is why December sowing is so beneficial for lupines. Rather than slowing them down, winter becomes a crucial stage in the process, unlocking the strength, beauty, and resilience that make these plants truly exceptional.